Today I'm going to sing a song called The River That Flows, and I guess it's probably the most personal song I've ever written. It was kind of coming out of a dark place, and my relationship was coming to an end, and I didn't really want to sit down and write another sort of break up, my baby left me kind of song. And I think ultimately what it was about was kind of realising that certain things in your life you can't control, no matter how much you want to. And it's also about, coming to terms with self-love and all of that stuff, which I think most people struggle with to some extent. So it's quite a personal song, and I had that kind of phrase, that's just the way it goes, going around and round in my head. It's one of the few songs that I've been able to sit down and just write, and it just flowed, I think whenever I sing The River That Flows live, it seems quite powerful because I think it speaks to a lot of people, and that was kind of unintentional. I kind of just wrote it for myself and what I was going through at the time, but it seems to be speaking to a lot of people, which is great. People have come up to me and said, this has kind of helped me a bit, and that's fantastic, because it's not what I set out to do, but it's quite touching in a way. It's like therapy for me, really, hopefully for other people as well, yeah. Well, I grew up in a very musical family. So my dad comes from a big family in India. There were 7 brothers and sisters, and they used to not even get together, they were just together, just singing at home, didn't have a telly and all that. They just sing songs, like I think most families did. Nowadays the furniture is all pointed towards a telly. Back in the day people had a piano or they just sing. So I kind of grew up in that environment. So there was always music in the house, me and my brothers and sisters. There'd be instruments lying around. You'd get home from school, pick up a guitar. So I was quite lucky that I had my family to play with. So my mum was in a band as well, called the Raincoats when she was a teenager. So she'd always play records at home. She'd play stuff like the Kinks and T-Rex, but also kind of like weird stuff that we didn't really understand, but is cool now. So I grew up with all this kind of mishmash of stuff, but ultimately the blues, really. Howling Wolf and Muddy Waters and Sonny Boy Williamson. As a teenager I started listening to, hip-hop like The Far Side and people like that. And Erykah, Badu, D'Angelo, I kind of fell in love with that. But at the same time, Motorhead, so there was all these different kind of influences, but they all kind of stem back to what I love, which is the kind of blues element. And I think that kind of weaves in and out through my music. So I think The River That Flows, I was listening to a lot of kind of Etta James, that kind of soulful bluesy stuff, which I really love. In my songwriting, I take influence from certainly the chords that I write on guitar are kind of almost calypso driven. I think on The River That Flows is kind of on the chorus, I kind of use a few of those like Lord Kitchener type calypso chords that I really like. So a big mishmash of stuff pretty much. I think you can find influence and inspiration in anything really, whether it's cooking, or coming to the laundrette. This is what a beautiful setting to sort of be in, It's a nice way to spend a Monday morning.